Well, it's hard to say how I become a famous person. And I think I started writing short stories since I was 16, 17. And at that time, it was a Burmese Socialist Program Party. And I don't believe in Burmese Socialist Program Party. Then I took part in the demonstration when 1988 democratic movement. And then beyond that, I become more like an activist, and I work for NLD, National League for Democracy, for a while, nearly a year. But after that, I went back to my university, Medical College, and I graduated in 1990. But I couldn't stop making any political activities. And at that time, after 1990 election, even though majority of seats were won by NLD, the government didn't transfer the power. Instead of it, they invented National Convention in 1993 to draw the draft of the Constitution, and I was against that. And then I was sentenced to 20 years imprisonment. Because of the imprisonment, most of my writings has been banned, and I suffer a lot of the health problems inside the prison, and I was like a very bad prisoner. I always against the authority as much as I could. And after that, during that period, a lot of international community had a big concern, and they did a lot of effort for my release. For example, like PAN International, Amnesty International, UNESCO, etc. And then some groups, they gave me some awards. So after that, I think a lot of people, not only in our society, but also in international community, they did notice about my contribution for the change of my country. And after I was released in 1999, I kept doing similar things. After my release in 1999, most of my publications were still banned, but I couldn't stop writing, and I kept writing. And in early 2000s, and I can go back to my editor's text, even though most of my publication has been not well published. A lot of publishers, they don't want to publish my books and etc. And then I was running a youth magazine and a literature magazine, and I also kept writing not only for Burmese audience but also for international audience, but I use a lot of pseudonyms for this case. And I published a book in English under a pseudonym called Suragamika. The title is The Roadmap. It was written in 2008-2009 while I was in Brown University in US. And it was all about Burma and the activities since 1988 till 2009-2010. And also in 2009-2010, while I was at Harvard University, I finished writing a memoir. It was my prison memoir, but it is in Burmese. So I was running another kind of the current affairs news journal in 2011-2012. Beyond that, I keep doing all these things as an editor of current affairs journals, as a magazine editor of a literature magazine, and I keep writing and saying whatever I believe. After having published that book, a lot of responses I got. One of the responses from some ministers. They really appreciate that book, and I couldn't imagine how comes. I never ever think this might happen. But these ministers were not part of the responsible group for my imprisonment, etc. So maybe because of that, they dare to appreciate whatever I write. So I have been known by, especially from President's office ministers. They have been for the Myanmar Peace Center and the peace process. So sometimes they invited me to attend some of their press conference, etc. That's all of my exposure. Beyond that, I don't know. I have no idea how the other ministers and how the other members of the current government think of my belief and my publication or etc. Right now, I think even among them, there are several groups of people, and some groups genuinely want to have peace, not only for the benefit of the people, but also for their own benefit. They really do want to have peace, because most of them already have the sense of insecurity. They know they all committed some sort of crimes towards humanity, crimes towards anything, towards our citizens. So they might have some kind of the hidden sense of guilty consciousness. So for that reason, they really do want peace. That's why they thought this is the only way they can gain the full sense of security. Otherwise, they might ended up like in Middle East, or the kind of the Arab Spring might trigger their sense of willing to withdraw, something like that. So maybe some other group, they might not have the similar way of thinking, and some other group might thinking we can still bully or we can still manipulate the people's naiveness. So I don't know, I cannot say. But right now, what I believe is the way we are heading is not very clear. Even this is the kind of the, there should be the election, there should be the 3 pillars of the democracy. Is still already, we do have a constitution, but all of these cannot guarantee the true sense of democracy in the country yet. So that's why we cannot say. After beyond 2015, nobody knows. Even just before 2015, nobody knows what would happen. In olden days, people read more serious books, but right now, people cannot read more serious books. So it's very diverse now, and people, majority of people don't have a similar way of thinking, how to build up our society, how to build our nation in democratic way. They even don't know the real way of democracy. Democracy as a culture, they never think that way. For them, democracy is some sort of miracle to gain or to be paid from someone else, or to be brought by someone else, something like that. That's why I think reading book is playing a very, very crucial role for educating them or having their inspiration to build the democratic society. But still, a lot of books right now had not yet been appreciated enough by the readers, because books cannot reach readers and readers cannot reach books in majority of population here. When we look back at our history, in 1885 we were under British colony, and before that a lot of people, majority of people, they still do love their kings, and they're still hoping that if the king is the right person and wise person, their life can be safe. So they don't have any intention to against the system of the kingdom or the hierarchical system. They still very happy with that. That's why when the British colony came in, they were so sad because they lost their kings, not because of under the British colony. And throughout this history, I cannot find people are not very clear about how they want their society, they want their country to become what? throughout the history until and unless we got the independence. In these days, people just want to have independence. After independence, how we will build the society, how we will build the nation, it was not very clear to me. They only in early mid-1930s, around 1935, the university students who took part in the 1920 first university boycott, they make the book club called the Red Dragon. That book club sounds like educating people how to build the society, what kind of the political dream or what kind of the political policy in other neighboring countries and how the war is going on. They want to educate to people, and then they want the people to contribute the similar aim and objectives for their future. But it was not very clear cut. That's why I think even after the independence, that was the very brief period for the parliament democracy, only 10, 12 years, and people are fighting for their political ideology, right wing and left wing. They are not very clear cut, and they cannot persuade the whole majority of people to have the similar aims and objectives, similar dream. And that's why it's ended up under the socialist government. It's so-called socialist government again and again. So right now it's more important. People just say democracy as a word, as a vocabulary. They don't really learn about the real essence of democracy. What they're hoping is similar things. If one good and wise king or the leader can fulfill all of their needs or change their lives easily. That's why they really cannot know they are the key player for contributing change in the society. The grassroots people right now, they complain about they never feel any change, even though this is the reform government or the government has been changed a lot. The political development sounds pretty faster than the economic development right now. But for me, even the political development is not going faster. The economic development, it's not only because of the government's policy, but also we all are suffering from the legacy of the last government. So that's why people are well repressed by the past government in every sectors. That's why they cannot really rely on their own integrity to have anything. Because of the nearly 50 years censorship, people has been exposed just to the propaganda. Pro-government propaganda introduced by the government throughout these 50 years. But beyond 1988, a lot of exile medias, they're playing quite a crucial role to educate people, but with the restriction of having access to the balanced news, especially from the information from the government and the other side. What they could practice, it was like the anti-government propaganda again. That's why people were never being exposed to the true journalism and true media sense. That's make the current, a lot of you could see a lot of the publications right now, either monthly, weekly or daily. How they practice is not yet journalism. It's like either pro-government or pro-someone, pro-one particular party or pro-one particular group, or anti-government or anti-one particular group or anti-someone else propaganda. So that's how the whole media landscape has been destroyed. That's one case. It's the kind of the legacy of the past censorship. And then another thing is, even for the writers, their landscape is very restricted. That's why they still practice self-censorship, or they cannot think laterally. They cannot think beyond what they have been thinking. So that's another big problem. And on top of that, I really want to focus also on is media ownership. We still have to apply license to run a media. So this license issues is like a censorship again. I cannot apply license for ages. So who else got the license? Either cronies or the family members of generals or so and so. So they were the very early buds since 2000, since late 2000, something like that. And they have been early buds for the media industry. And then how they practice under the censorship. They practice is just the favorism. They got the favor from the government officials. They got the scope news from the government officials. They always have a priority and privileges. And then they have been happy for having this kind of the privileges, and they don't want to lose it. So when they practice, it's not journalism. They just want to abuse. They still want to take advantage of being privileged media industry or media ownership. So that's why some media ownership, since they are cronies, since they're defending just their own benefit, and they ask their employees, the editors, and the staff not to do what, something like that. There was almost no editorial independence for these kind of media owners. So that's also we need to face.